everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 352. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by my two favorite co-conspirators, none other than Jesse and Alex.
352.
352.
Hell yeah.
Is that a number that we should be worried about?
No, I'm continually shocked that we've been doing this for so long.
What are you going to do when we hit 500?
Probably be dead by then.
Okay, relax.
500 minutes long.
No, you know what? The death option's looking much better now. Whenever the corporate war starts, I'll sign up.
500 should happen in our 10 year, somewhere within our 10 year, I think.
That's
maps out. Maybe I'm a little
50
off.
weeks in a year, right?
52, yeah.
Yeah, 52 weeks in a year. So like,
there's 100,
and
2 years.
we probably missed a few, right? Like,
yeah.
So like,
yeah. Technicality wise,
yeah.
we're probably hitting 500.
I bet you it'll hit in year 10. I bet you're right.
We'll see.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
We've got so more topics than getting to 500 could ever fucking like cover. So we could be here until the day one of us truly dies.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Why?
Not, I don't know.
I feel like now both of you are rooting for my death.
Not necessarily yours.
Not
Just
yours at all.
I think that'd be
Okay, that's
romantic if
good.
one of us
Sorry,
died.
Mathas.
Yeah. I prefer to be the one that dies here.
I don't like that.
Okay. That's fine with me too. That's fine with me.
Good.
If it's as long as it's not me, it's cool. That's really what this is about. Like, I don't want to like make it seem like I'm being favorite, like playing favorites. I just don't want to die.
Sure, man.
I don't either. I'll be the self-sacrificial one.
That's beautiful.
Tell you what if instead of that you sacrificed, what is it, Andrew Jackson, who's on the 10?
What?
Who's on the $10 bill?
Why are you trying to sacrifice a dead president?
It's got to be Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Jackson. Whatever makes $15. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I would have gone for Ben Franklin.
Alexander Hamilton is on the 10.
He's the only not president on our money.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the $10 bill because I never see $10 bills ever. $10 bills,
fives and ones.
20s, 5s, 1s, see them all the time. 2s
I
and 10s,
only see hundos, baby.
Oh yeah. I'm
excited for my new $250 bill.
Whenever I go shopping, I use a couple of those hundreds, even though it's the same.
Even though no one accepts them.
Groceries.
And people always question why I have them. And sure, I counterfeit them in my basement and they're made of printer paper, whatever.
Nobody needs to know.
That's why there's 350 episodes of the show. It's because we just are master thieves.
That's it. Yeah. The real secret is we are slowly building piece by piece an old printing press.
The real Chilluminati organization is being built by the extreme success of this podcast.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Go to patreon.com to keep us off the streets because that's what's doing it is the Patreon. That's what's helping us make great episodes like Mathas's awesome Salem witch trials the other day. That was just like a huge giant, like I learned actually like probably double what I knew before about the Salem witch trials.
That is like the best thing ever to hear is like you actually learned something.
Yeah. Or I was able to do
like a teacher with kids
over an hour on a giant exploding tank of molasses that put like over 2 million gallons of molasses into the streets
worst
of Boston.
death possible.
Yeah. Or what was before that? The Gardner Museum.
Yes.
The like giant art heist and we learned about how art heists are often because criminals want collateral. That's interesting, right? All kinds of stuff. And that's all because of Patreon. So if you go to Patreon and you support us, not only do you get a mini-sode every time we put out an episode, you get episodes of our show Rotten Popcorn, which we are overdue for. And you get all kinds of like inside lines on stuff. Like we'd show our top secret stickers, our new merch is available on Patreon. You can see the stickers before you buy them. Otherwise, you got to buy them blind. But it supports Mudsley, who's done these beautiful stickers for us, including that awesome Range 4 Harry sticker. So go check him out, patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. And, while you're over at theyeti.com/Chilluminati buying shirts and stickers and whatnot, why not grab a poster or two, which are currently 70% off? You know what I mean? That's 30%. That means within the price of, one, normally you get 3 now, right? Or like, you can get 3 for like under $100. Let's put it that way.
Well, the Jeff Mongoose ones are sold out now.
Oh, wow. So people are actually buying these.
Yes, people are actually going
So
over there.
actually,
and buying them.
not only is it a great deal, they're flying off the shelves. So time is wasting, and Jeff the Mongoose was the coolest one. So hurry up. Run, don't walk to the Yeti.com. That's with 2 E's. The Yeti.com/Chilluminati. The only website that's not Chilluminati Pod. It's really easy to get and find. The Yeti.com/Chilluminati. Go there, get some stuff, or be square, or don't. You're not square. You're cool because you listen to the Chilluminati. Back to you in the studio, Mathas.
You ready to talk about some murders?
I knew we were going there. I saw on the schedule what it said.
It's been some time. I've been true crime itching.
I'm ready for murder. Let's go.
I just want to remind you that 21 people were killed in the Boston molasses.
But was it personal? That's what we're here for.
And weren't another 21 people killed in the Salem witch trials?
And there's 20 some odd that are victims here too. This is personal.
That felt poor. Well, okay.
Salem witch trials depended. Could have been personal for some, for sure.
Yeah, that felt a little personal.
Yeah, we're going back to the world of true crime today, gentlemen. I'm very excited to go back. We're going to be doing part 1 of the next of a 2-parter today on the Boston Strangler, or Stranglers, as we'll learn through this episode. This is going to be a bit different too than the way I usually do true crime, because of the way I think the cops uniquely fucked up this whole thing. Right away, basically from the outset, as we do. So it's a story that's infuriating, but necessary. And a shout out to the main source of today's 2-parter, which is Suzanne Kelly's The Boston Stranglers, written in 1966, and still probably the best book with the genuine boots on the ground journalism research to figure out the truth underneath what happened here in the 60s,
so that book's called The Boston Stranglers?
Yeah, the Boston Stranglers, yes.
And it's from the 60s.
It's from 66.
That's crazy, because until you just said that, I did not know that there was like a plural situation going on. I've only ever heard the term The Boston Strangler.
Yeah. And you might even know the movie. There's a movie that was made in the 60s, late 60s.
I remember this movie.
Tony Curtis, is that a person?
That's a person.
Okay.
It's a person.
Yeah, then it's him. He's the one that's in that movie, if I'm remembering correctly.
Some Like It Hot.
Some Like, is that he in that movie?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I know.
I'm amazed you even knew that was a movie, to be honest.
I knew that.
I thought I was sneaking that right past you.
I've heard Some Like It Hot so many times as like a phrase. So like I figured it was a movie title since you're using it as a reference in this
I
moment.
thought maybe it was because the ending of that
clues.
movie has been put on the internet often lately.
I don't know how it ends. I don't even know what the story is of that movie.
Well, then go watch it. It's classic.
So these two guys are musicians, and they are on the run from the mob, and they dress like ladies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Marilyn Monroe is in the movie also. So there's a real lady in there that they become friends with.
And there's a very classic ending about acceptance.
Yeah, Jack Lemmon. It's Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis, right? Am I crazy? No, it is. I'm sure it is. Fuck it. I'm sticking with my guns. I was in this movie. I played the Jack Lemmon character.
You were Jack Lemmon.
I did it on stage in my high school career. There's video.
It's out there.
It's out there. The truth is out there.
Well, for a year and a half, starting in the summer of 1962, somebody walked into apartments all over Boston, strangled the women who lived there, and walked back out uncaught. For a while, the paper said 13 of them, all killed in the one place that they felt they were supposed to be safe, in their place of residence, usually tied up with their own stockings, knotted off with a little bow underneath the chin, kind of like presented as though somebody like left a present in a weird, sick way with the way that the murder weapon was left. And
We're
then
just right in.
we are like, you have to like, the best way to tell the story, unlike other ones, I think, is to dive right in, because it's in the way that this all goes down that I find the narrative thread most interesting.
You sure? I got this like machine that shows you these like time slices. You want to use that?
I think we should put that back into Chilluminati HQ and leave it there.
Yeah, I'll send it up.
I'm surprised it's still in your apartment, actually.
It's really big. I can't get it out the door. I built it and now it can't get out the door.
Oh, you have to take it back apart again? Let me guess. You have to pay for shipping too?
Yeah, I have to pay shipping, and it's like hazardous materials disposal too, so it's like it's a whole thing.
I don't know why we work for these people. In 1965, a few years later, a man in a hospital for the criminally insane basically confessed to every single one of the murders. And the most famous murder case in the history of New England just got stamped closed and filed away. And like you said earlier, Alex, that's the version you know. The one that the Tony Curtis movie that we mentioned, and a lot of like what these books written about this are point to. The cops who actually worked these murders thought that version was garbage as well. The detectives who spent 4 years of their lives on this said the same thing until the day they died. That guy who claimed he did it didn't do it. He was never even close to the person who did it. And more than a year before he confessed to anything, the Attorney General's own task force, the people running the whole investigation, quietly wrote down a conclusion that they were never going to say in public, that there was no single Boston Strangler, that some of these were copycats, that the bodies didn't match, the methods didn't match, the victims didn't match, and the boogeyman terrorizing the target in large part was something that the newspapers built up and everybody kind of agreed to believe for the sake, I think, of their own sanity.
I blame the Zodiac.
Sure. Around that time, right? When was the Zodiac active?
I think like
60s, right?
62, yeah, something like
this
that.
Is 62. This is 62 when this is happening. So tonight,
68 actually. I'm sorry.
Okay, so afterward.
Yeah.
But we're just doing part one tonight. What we're gonna cover today is the year and a half of kind of terror of these killings, the way it actually went down before anybody started to like hang their own name on this thing. And we're gonna go through the murders while the city is kind of losing its mind trying to figure out what's going on. So let's jump in with Back Bay in Boston. Have you guys been to the Back Bay? Yeah, you had to have been, right? Is Back Bay close to the convention center? If you've been near the convention center, you might be Back Bay.
My belief is that one time I went to a pizza restaurant in the Back Bay for dinner, and it was like an Uber ride from where our hotel was near the convention center.
It is nearish, but not
happened.
The actual convention center area.
I believe maybe you were. I believe maybe at least one of you was with me. We were with some Swedish friends of ours.
Yes, I was definitely there for that. But the Back Bay is south of the Charles River.
Yeah,
but close to convention center, but not really. It's not the waterfront, but it's like
it's a hop and a skip. Yeah,
it's around there. Yeah.
Well, put your mind mentally there because we're going there, but it's actually going to be June 14th, 1962. A Thursday evening. A woman by the name of Anna Slessers is 56 years old, and she's a Latvian immigrant, a seamstress, and a quiet woman who lives by herself in apartment 3F at 77 Gainsborough Street. And on this night, she has somewhere she has to be. Her son, Uris, is coming to walk her to a memorial service for the people murdered when the Soviets rolled into Latvia during the war. So that's where she is going to be going on this particular night. She already knows tragedy in a way so many of us already won't. I can't even imagine being like what that must have been like when the Soviets just rolled into Latvia. She lived that. Uris shows up a little before 7 o'clock and he knocks on her door to no answer. No footsteps, no sounds. He could see her figures, he said. Usually she runs down the stairs and waits in the lobby, but she didn't show up. So he goes back up, knocks again, still nothing. And that's when he starts to say he gets a little bit worried because his mother, as far as he remembers, never came down like for her mail that day either. And Anna Slessers is, for what he said, not the kind of woman who forgets to get her mail. Like he saw in the lobby, her mail was still in the box, and that never happened. By 7:45, he's scared enough to force his way into his mother's own apartment. And what he finds is horrifying. She's lying in the hallway between the bathroom and the kitchen. The blue house coat she had on has been torn wide open, leaving her body exposed, one leg out straight and the other bent up almost 45 degrees. The cord from the same house coat is pulled tight around her throat and tied off underneath her chin in a bow. There's blood in her right ear with a deep gaping split in the back of her skull, and her neck is scratched and bruised. She's been sexually assaulted, almost certainly with an object. The apartment has been gone through, drawers and belongings disturbed, though apart from a little blood on the kitchen floor and a tipped over wastebasket, there's barely any sign of a struggle whatsoever. And for reasons nobody has ever explained in 60 years, somebody pulled a chair into the front hallway and set it down right inside the door, like just a chair sitting there facing in. Now, Uris, standing in that apartment, looks at his strangled, half-naked, like dead mother and thinks to himself and tells the police he thinks she killed herself. He says suicide. That's the first theory that just goes right on the board. And I kind of like try to put yourself in his shoes, right? You walk in, your brain's not taking in the fine details.
Maybe somebody came in and strangled her to death is probably not where his head is at.
Yeah, brain is doing survival mode type thing. Probably just to package this thing in a way that makes sense. The fine details that we just learned about, he's probably not taking in the way we are at this moment. And it's not hard to figure out why he would land on suicide here. But there was a lot of other evidence that we'd learn that would point to not suicide. The sexual assault, cracked skull, blood, ransacked apartment, mystery chair, somebody arranged near the door. You'd have to explain away how a 56-year-old woman strangles herself with a bathrobe cord and then tied the leftover into a tidy decorative bow under her chin, which if you have ever tried to tie a bow on your own chin, if you're like me, is very difficult.
Hard,
Never mind doing it while doing it while you're dead. And then there's another detail that should have ended the suicide talk on the spot because it tells you like what kind of person did this. Because according to the papers at the time, whoever killed Anna Slessers didn't reach for the bathrobe cord first. He first tried to strangle her with a man's leather belt, but the belt broke. Quote, and this is like from the Globe at the time. Police said he would have to be a man of unnatural strength to do that. Like a man strong enough to snap a leather belt while strangling somebody is a big guy. Somebody who would have to, you're not doing that to yourself, essentially. Like it wasn't going to be this woman. So naturally the early read is probably, it shouldn't be, she probably did it to herself. And the next morning, the Boston Traveler runs the story under the headline, Mom Found Strangled in Back Bay. And over at the Globe, they describe Anna Slessers, who was a widow, as, quote, an attractive divorcee. Which she was not. Like, I don't understand why they ran that. It's so fucking weird. It stuck out.
I mean, I understand exactly why they ran it. It's just Narbar. It's just a little bit extremely over the line.
It's sensationalist journalism. You know, why are we letting any facts slow us down here? We're on murder number 1, and the press already has the wrong idea about all of this shit.
Man, I usually have to wait till episode 2 till we get to the murders. I'm getting like whiplash from this.
Yeah, we're going in immediately. Because right away, like the press immediately fuck it up. It's all fucked up right from the start. And this is the crux of the Boston Strangler case. Like it doesn't get more competent from here on out. This first murder, that's as competent as this entire fucking thing gets. Enjoy it. There is one detail in this scene by
the way, that's a crazy thing to say. This murder is as competent as it gets. What a phrase.
Like, that's it.
So wait, is it like the story of the dumb, like the like unlucky police investigation, or is this like, oh, par for the course for the Boston PD in the 60s?
It's exceptionally bad.
Okay.
It's exceptionally bad, but and also like we'll get into it. Like it's hard. It's exceptionally poorly handled. Again, the other thing though that I think people hang on to as to why this was a suicide and another point in the crime scene was like there was very little like signs of struggle. Again, there was no sign of forced entry. Like the lock wasn't broken, the window wasn't forced open or any of that stuff, which means she probably walked to her door, looked through it and like let whoever it was or maybe she didn't even look through. Maybe she knew her son was coming and this person just got lucky or whatever and just figured it was him. And then she opened the door, maybe unlocked the door, turned her back on the door so her son could walk in. And then like the guy stepped in and immediately like started strangling her. But that kind of seems to be what happens though, again and again and again in every one of these cases. Because so after Anna Slessers, it picks up in speed and every single one is kind of just worse than the last. So then we move to slightly later on in June 30th, just over 2 weeks since the last one. Nina Nichols, 68 years old, a retired physiotherapist found on her bedroom floor in her apartment over on Commonwealth Avenue in Brighton. She has 2 nylon stockings knotted around her neck and yanked tight. Her pink housecoat was open, her bra dragged above her breasts, her slip shoved to her waist. She's been violated with a wine bottle, and on her feet, untouched, this small, ordinary human thing the killer left exactly as it was, a pair of blue tennis shoes. One of the Boston detectives who works the scene quietly bags up 3 things and carries them back to headquarters. He grabs an empty wine bottle, a black plastic purse, and a little cardboard box. And the wine bottle is of the 3, the one that you want to keep in your mind for a second, because I want you to let it go. They don't do anything with it. Just kidding. They get all this stuff and they do nothing with this. The police take the evidence and do nothing with it. Literally just sits in evidence. They don't do anything with it.
That's what they all. Is that just because there's like a backup, or we just don't know why they just were
don't know why
just sleeping off the job on this one?
Because the thing you learn a lot of is like the cops don't. It's work. It's work. It's a lot of work, and they don't want a lot of work. They don't want to do a lot of work. Maybe they were backed up. Maybe they weren't. That's no excuse. Your job is to take care of this shit.
A reminder every time we're here. Every time. It's like,
get your
the killer killed so many people, and the police let him do it. And then cut to the police being like, we had no way of finding this person.
He had chicken. He seemed so trustworthy.
We just simply, there was no signs.
And then this is how quickly this shit picks up for this case, too. That same day, 15 miles north up in Lynn, a 65-year-old retired practical nurse named Helen Blake, 2 stockings knitted at the nape of her neck and a bra tied over the top of them, knotted under her chin. Her killer left her face down on her own bed in a ransacked apartment, and she lies there undiscovered until her housekeeper lets herself in 2 days later. The autopsy notes she'd last been seen alive on the 29th. So by the time anybody finds Helen Blake, the man who did it has had the better part of 3 days to just go somewhere else. And again, this is the early 60s. It is much easier to just vanish than it is today.
I forget what case it was. I forget what case it was that we were talking about in the 60s. Maybe it was Zodiac. I can't remember, but it was like, yeah, that's like the only thing that's different about like the 60s and cowboy times is like airplanes and clothes.
Right.
Like it's crazy.
There were people alive in the 60s who knew what cowboy times looked like.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
It is very crazy to think about. It's
like they don't have the computers that people that we imagine that society that looks like that was based on.
It's crazy. I can't imagine what that was. Like we're living through a weird era of like technological like expansion in a crazy way, but a lot of I feel like our physical surroundings haven't changed so much in like our life, where like somebody who was born in the 1800s probably watched a transforming world in real time.
Dude, everything.
Like yeah, it's nuts.
I forget what movie it is. Maybe it's It Follows. There's like this sort of there's just like nebulous sense of time period, and it's only achieved by changing like a few little things. Or look at that Batman show. It's like, is it the 30s or is it the 90s?
Oh, the animated series? Yeah.
Yeah, there's not that much that you have to change to make it different. Remember that weird, I think it's in It Follows. She has like a shell phone. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's just like some weird thing that doesn't exist that you're like, I don't even know when this is set now.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about though. With this third death, with Helen Blake's death, though, this is the moment the Boston Police Department was like, okay, we can't just ignore this. Like, this is not 3 coincidences. Someone is out there actively doing this. And the department has a brand new commissioner at this time, a guy named Edmund McNamara, who basically empties the building at the problem. We're like, all right, we're going to put every man we have at this. The papers start calling the guy the Mad Strangler, and they find the nickname that they find the nickname that really sticks. They also call him 56, 68, 65. It's like his code they use. There's basically like the ages that he killed. They're using as like the code of the killer that they're like labeling him as like internally. If that makes it
58.
56 years old, 68 years old, 65 years old. So that's where the three numbers come from that they label him with.
Oh, okay.
It's just so many syllables for like a snappy, a snappy way to reference them.
No, the Mad Strangler sticks so much easier. So like, you know, they get this, the papers land on it. The paper land on a name, the Mother Killer, because the three victims were mothers in their elderly mothers as they were coming into their 60s or so.
That's like a
that's pretty messed up
move for the. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it. It's absolutely spooky. It's absolutely ghastly.
Then we move to July 11th. A chambermaid named Eva Day lets herself into room 7 on the second floor of the Hotel Roosevelt.
Just like she did every day.
Just like she did. Exactly, just like she did every day. That's out in Lower Washington Street, and comes back out the room screaming. On the bed is the body of a 60-year-old woman, naked and strangled. And the story kind of goes sideways immediately because she checked into that hotel the night before with a man. The
60-year-old woman?
Yes. The two of them signed the register as Mr. and Mrs. Byron Spinney, a fake name over a fake address. And by morning, the man is gone, never seen again. And so like this, and this is not, and she's not like the tidy grandma victim the other three were. She sticks out a little bit more so than the other three previous victims. It takes the city 4 tries just to figure out her name. One person ends up calling her Ethel Johnson. Another person swears she's Anne Cunningham, who went by Annie Oakley. To somebody else, she's Winnie Hughes. And to a fourth person, she's just Toby. So 4 different people claim to know this person.
One person said, "That's Toby?"
Yes, one person's like, "No, I know that. I know her. That's Toby."
Stop. No.
Just first name, one name, just one name, Toby.
Just literally, that is the only name I got out of it.
So, okay.
4 different people claim this woman is 4 different people.
So I was aghast at this at first, like the idea of like, sort of like not being able to see that this is like a different modus operandi than the previous kills.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But then I'm thinking about it and I'm like, okay, what was like the media literacy of like the methodology of murderers at this time? Like, because there wasn't like 2 or 3 generations of like wine moms watching true crime television yet.
Yep.
And stuff like that. And then on the cops end, what was the show that had the co-ed killer in there? Mind?
Oh yeah,
Mindhunter.
Mindhunter. Yeah.
Yes, I want to keep saying Mind Freak. I'm like you're saying
what year is that? It's like 61, 60.
It's the serial killer decade, dude.
Yeah.
It's in the 60s.
Yeah. So like there actually isn't the notion of like modus operandi and stuff as like popular culture yet, right? Like the cops aren't thinking about this stuff. Like these ways of investigating crimes are like emerging now.
Yes,
right?
the whole language of serial killing is emerging in this era. This is all new.
So maybe it's just like
this mindset.
So maybe it's just like uneducated police work. You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, I mean, part of it may very well be like but there's so much where they purposely you're like, well, they didn't. This is them fucking up, as we'll see as we continue. But
I'm already mad about the fucking evidence not being used for anything. That's not excusable.
Yeah, utterly unexcusable.
Just real quick. Most of the women who have been killed are older and have no immediate family.
No, the first 3 had immediate family.
I mean, like living with them, is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. No one with them. They were alone.
Gotcha. So like, all right.
So after 4 people claimed to know who this woman was, finally her nephew, a man named Daniel O'Leary, identifies her for real this time. And her name is none of the above. And it wasn't Toby.
It wasn't Toby?
It wasn't
Crazy.
Toby. I know.
That's
Who would have
crazy.
guessed?
Her name was Margaret Davis. She's 60. She's an alcoholic who'd been in and out of City Hospital. And until the start of that June, she'd been working as a domestic at a place called the House of the Good Shepherd. And she wasn't
domestic.
Yeah, like she helped around that, I think just like a helping hand in the area.
Like an au pair?
Yeah, I think that's like a way to look at it. Yeah, this is cleaning, cooking, just like taking care of the general household.
Well, before you said that, I thought you were going to say this was like a murdered sex worker.
Sure, absolutely gives that. It gives that right away. But no, she was just a domestic at a place called the House of the Good Shepherd. And unlike the others, it wasn't with her own stockings that she was strangled. She was choked to death by hand.
And there was a man who was with her there the night before.
Her that checked in. Yep, exactly. Margaret Davis, we're going to kind of like come back to, because the official investigation is going to quietly conclude that she was never actually a strangler victim at all. They're going to decide she died the way a lot of people in sex life die. The sex worker life die in a fight with the man she walked in with, a man who like may have just been a random person she met while she was drunk, because again, she was an alcoholic, who went and melted back into society, never to be found again. Just a one-off occurrence of this other guy, but he wasn't the same guy that was killing the other three people. But as far as the papers and the media was concerned, she's victim number 4, and she gets thrown in with the other for 3 as far as the public consciousness is aware.
Yeah, I mean, damn.
Then a little over a month later, August 19th, Ida Erga, 75, at the bottom of Beacon Hill, is the next victim. Her killer strangled her, beat her badly enough to leave a trail of blood from the bedroom where he attacked her, then dragged her body out into the living room and then arranged it. He propped her legs up on 2 separate chairs, spread 4 or 5 feet apart. He shoved a standard bed pillow up under her body to raise it up, and he aimed her at the door so that the very first thing anyone walking in would see would be her exposed deceased body pointing straight at them. Like, this person set it up with horrifying and ruining another person's life in mind, because you see that, I don't care who you are, that's going to fuck with you for the rest of your life. The person who walked in was her own younger brother, Harry Halpern. The Globe puts her on the front page the next morning and calls her the Stranglers' 5th victim. Whoever did this wanted it found, obviously, and wanted it found exactly the way it was staged.
This is a lot of murders for 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
How separated are these? Timeline-wise?
Month or weeks, usually. So from the last one to this one, a month and 6 days.
So this is feeling like a fervor to the people.
It is feeling like a fervor to Boston. It is absolutely dominating the headlines, because right when you probably starts to taper off, another one happens. Like 30 days of news, and then like this one happens, but this one didn't even have a month between. This one had 2 days between. From August 19th, we go to August 21st, and then a woman named Jane Sullivan, who was 67, a nurse's aide who just moved over to Dorchester 7 weeks prior, and she lies there for 10 days before anyone finds her, because she'd gone quiet, and her sister got worried and finally sent her son, Jane's nephew, to go check the apartment. And when he does, he finds his aunt on her knees in the bathtub, head down under the faucet, half submerged in 6 inches of water.
Jesus.
She was positioned so that her kind of rear was in the air, her body already badly decomposed because she was sitting in water for 10 days. And there's a corn broom in the apartment with her blood dried on the handle. There's a partial fingerprint at the scene, the one piece of physical evidence in the whole summer that could actually help the police point towards somebody, a human being that is actively doing this shit.
By the way, for the record, really quickly, a corn broom literally is when you think of a broom in your head, that's what it is. It's the one that has the symbol of a broom.
Yellow one.
You'll know it in your mind's eye immediately.
Unfortunately, while they got this fingerprint, not a single soul matched it. They had nobody on record. And much like every other one, there was no forced entry. There never is in any of these. So count the summer with me here. 1 season, 6 women. That's a lot in 3 months, summer. And not one broken lock in any of them. Every one of these women either opened their door or the door's already unlocked. Sized up the man in the hallway, usually somewhere, and then let him in. And then in the fall, the pattern does something that, in my mind, should have blown up the whole idea of a single killer doing this whole thing in 1962. October 13th now, we move a couple months ahead. We're in the early morning, and a woman named Violet Pirillo glances out her apartment window at the back lot behind a building on Tremont Street and sees what she's pretty sure is a body lying out in the yard. She flags down a man who works in the building, and he goes and looks, and yes, it turns out she's right. There's a dead woman. The dead woman that's lying there is a woman by the name of Modest Freeman. She's 37 years old, and she breaks the mold in every direction compared to the previous victims. For one, she's not elderly. She's also the first black victim, and she's not strangled in a tidy apartment with a bow under her chin. She's beaten to death out in the open in a vacant lot. Her face beaten into a pulp and her skull caved in. A wooden stick was driven into her body, and her blood alcohol was so high that it was like off the charts. A thing the medical examiner found in none of the other victims like this. Nothing about this victim looks like the careful, like indoor staging of the previous summer. It's all completely different than every other murder. And like Margaret Davis, what?
Yeah, the hotel one, right?
Yeah.
Was she bow?
No bow. She was beaten to death until her skull caved in. She wasn't strangled.
The one in the hotel.
Oh, strangled with their hands. They didn't know bow, but she was strangled. At
that
least
one also
like the
felt,
other ones.
Yeah, that one also felt quite.
The cops quietly told themselves that wasn't part of it, but the public got the media version of it all. And this person's completely different motive than all the others. Like again, just kind of no strangling at all, but it doesn't really matter. Like Margaret Davis, the task force is eventually going to do the same thing and scrub her off of their personal list of victims of the strangler that they're looking for. They'll say it's a beating, not the strangler internally. So we're barely halfway through, and the murders already don't match each other. The papers have decided this is one monster. The bodies coming into the morgue are telling a different story. There's different people doing this. Nobody's listening to the bodies yet because this entire city is, at this point, lost its mind, convinced there's a single demon out there running around killing women. The killer is to the people. The killer is completely invisible. There's no description of him out there right now for the simple reason that the only people who ever got a look at this guy are dead. He doesn't break in. He gets invited in or walks in. He picks women who are always alone in their own homes, and he turns the safest place they have into the last place that they'll ever be. And every few weeks, another one turns up, posed and strangled, and the police have nothing on this at all. So how do you think the city in the 60s, where this is dominating the headlines, are feeling right now? Like, it's not good. Like, the temperature in Boston right now is chaos. There's a lot of internal panicking. Jesse, you look confused.
I'm literally just trying to supplement my knowledge of all of this. I'm like hardcore 60s. Googling because it's fascinating, but also, like Alex was saying, it continues the frustration of, I mean, I guess we're kind of like Monday morning quarterbacking this. We're we have hindsight on our side.
Yeah, we have somebody who did, like, again, Suzanne, who wrote the main source I'm using here, did all the incredible work.
I don't want to feel like I'm poo-pooing the police. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, it definitely seems like they really keep screwing up constantly.
There are good cops out there. But that's the thing, is like, you don't hear the good news, you always hear the bad news, but the bad news for the police,
right? I mean, like, a good cop would have caught the guy first time and it wouldn't be about the Boston Strangler. You know what I mean? But this is like, it just keeps falling back on that error after error after error after error equals serial killer.
Don't you feel like,
well, psychologically, don't you feel like serial killer? But
don't you feel today like, though, there's like killers out there? Like, aren't you like aware that, like,
I am literally right now going through Frank Figliuzzi's book about, there is currently some 800 unsolved, like a ludicrous amount of unsolved murders along one specific corridor of highway that they think truckers are doing.
Yeah. Yes.
And they're like, and truckers can keep moving. So, like, I want to do that episode. There's so many crazy it's insane.
Well, when you look into serial killers, a lot of the reason they get caught is because they stay within the comforts of their playground, so to speak. They stay where they know.
Yes.
The hardest one is like Israel Keys is one we may cover one day. But the reason he was so hard to catch as a serial killer is because he moved through the countries. He had kill packages hidden in random areas across states that had the tools for him to go and murder if he got the urge. And it's so hard to catch him because he wasn't staying in one area. And just like the whole thing moving through the corridor, if it's truckers, they're always in the move. How the fuck do you ever pin anybody down?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's wild.
Yeah. So the city, Boston at this point is kind of like panicking. And she goes on to talk about in the book, like the city starts to kind of arm itself here. People start adding more locks to their doors. Locksmiths themselves are getting booked solid. Like imagine being a locksmith and like being booked. I don't know. Maybe it's silly to me, but like maybe it's not as silly as I think. But like,
I think it feels like the first time that there were ever murderers. Like I feel like it feels like murderers are suddenly among you. You know what I mean?
Or at least
like,
the way, it's crazy.
Like because there's never been a sensation like this probably in your memory. Like there's no like your parents never had anything like this to help you understand it. Like it probably just felt like around every corner was a fucking guy that was literally going to strangle you. Yeah.
So while locksmiths are booked solid, to your point, there's also the other point that I found fascinating is that animal rescue pounds were being cleaned out of their dogs in minutes every time they opened. Like people wanted a dog, a guard dog, something. Yes, they were just wanted something in their house, like a dog to protect them. So the dogs were getting like cleaned out of like rescue pounds around the city.
I will say, as you know, my dog barks quite a lot, listener. But I do feel safe when I go to sleep because I know that motherfucker would be yelling his fucking face off if somebody
Same with my dumbass little dogs. I'm like, I know you wouldn't be able to defend me for worth of shit, but you'll wake me up before.
You'll wake me the fuck up. Yeah, I'll be facing my fate alive and awake. Yeah,
exactly. Elderly women living alone arrange for their kids to do like, basically they set up phone call schedules 3 times a day, every day, lots and lots of check-ins, basically. And if there was ever a missed call, that was like an alarm for someone to go check and make sure they were good. The commissioner himself, McNamara, goes into the papers with a list of safety tips for women living by themselves. And they are kind of the most saddest, like most reasonable advice you'll ever read, basically. Because it's just like, hey, lock every door. Put a safety lock on if you can. Check that all the windows are latched. Make the janitor confirm the building's front door is secure. Another big one, basically, is to let no one into your apartment until you are positive of who they are. I think this was a time where there was a little bit more lax of concern of like safety. People, your neighbors, people, leaving your door unlocked wasn't as uncommon as it is today.
That's like the ultimate metaphor of the Manson murders, which were like years after this, where it was the moment when America stopped leaving their door unlocked.
But it's also,
you know what I mean?
We've established that there's some of these killings have no direct connection. Like it's media manufactured as well.
Oh, absolutely. The media you could point the media as the whole reason they're all freaking out like this. And there's a woman in Kelly's book, a Cape Cod woman, who remembers that her grandmother every night before bed used to go around the house and hide all of her stockings, like hide them so that she maybe like wouldn't get strangled with them. Because that was like, to everybody, that was a known murder weapon.
She was probably thinking about it a lot and didn't want it to happen. You know what I mean?
Maybe exactly thinking that maybe if they hid them and they did break in and find no stockings, they wouldn't go through with it or something. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Or she's just picturing it a lot. So she thinks maybe if I hide them, then at least that won't happen.
Another woman that she's talked about or two in the book, she says that the person kind of put it into words as it was as if Jack the Ripper had come back from the dead to walk the streets of Boston. That's, she said, what it felt like during that time.
Right.
And that's like a really cool, like, I appreciate her putting it that way because it really does kind of put you into the mindset.
I was going to say, it does feel like that.
A little ripperish, like, yeah.
Everybody just starts fingering each other, like, what for Jack the Ripper? You know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, well, this guy scares the shit out of me, so he's Jack the Ripper. And this guy looked at me like this guy tried to raise my rent, so he's Jack the Ripper. And this guy, this guy walked on the same street as me for 3 blocks, and now he's Jack the Ripper. Like, he's everywhere.
Another thing I kind of want to point to give like a taste of what this is like. The terror at this time it wasn't evenly spread across Boston. And like Kelly is very particular about this. She says, like, in the working class neighborhoods, in the immigrant and ethnic parts of the towns, places like East Cambridge, people were genuinely like terrified. Priests were warning women from the pulpit, like, to lock their doors. But 3 miles away, up in the money areas in Harvard Square and all those leafy parts of Cambridge and Beacon Hill where the professors and all the old money families lived, there was barely a panic there. Nobody seemed to care. Because as always, that they're separated entirely. Like it's that separation of class playing out in real time. Most of the reason serial killers get away is because they target what we call lesser dead. In this way, it's a little bit different than the usual, what is considered lesser dead, because they're like grandmas and not sex workers. But still, it's like a part of the community that's not
senior
as
citizens.
Yes,
if you're like,
I think you're right.
If you're not gonna like, include like life choices, it's like, women talk about disappearing once they turn 40, like in the entertainment industry. People disappear altogether once they turn 65. They just go into a room in America. It distresses people, I think, from other countries to see how we treat old people here sometimes, because our lives are so overwhelmingly, devastatingly hard all the time because we're stupid and don't understand we're under the boot of capitalism, that we just can't be bothered with an old person's problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we just toss them out. If they got all murdered, we wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
Nobody sees them in their day-to-day life.
You're completely correct. And kind of a good sum up of how the rich people felt. There was a bartender at the Casablanca, which was a very fashionable spot in Harvard Square, summed up the rich person's attitude at this time in one sentence, saying, quote, "People were too busy having fun to be scared." So they just didn't care. They just didn't register for them at all. We want to talk a little bit now. Moving from that, we're going to move to the cops a little bit, because while the city was out there buying guard dogs and stuff, the police department was taking out behind the fucking woodshed. By early 1963, Commissioner McNamara is standing in an absolute nightmare. He's got somewhere between 6 and 9 unsolved murders in his city in a matter of months, depending on how you're counting that week, obviously, and what they just consider part of the Stranglers murders and what's not. None of the cases are moving forward in any way. So the politicians start coming for him. A city councilor named William Foley stands up and says, more or less, if this crime wave keeps up, the mayor will fire McNamara as fast as he'd fired anybody. Another councilor, a guy named McDonough, who used to be a cop himself, piles on in the moment, going straight at McNamara. McNamara's plan to shrink the department. Of course, this is another opportunity to try and shove money and expand the police state. And a state legislator named Pearlie Dyer Chase, the one who represents the Back Bay area where Anna Slessers and Sophie Clark and Patricia Bissett, all of their victims, all died, throws an actual kind of grenade onto the floor of the state house, and he demands that the Boston Police Department's detectives be investigated themselves. He wants somebody to investigate the investigation.
Oh, okay. Isn't that kind of implied by like being police officers, that they're held to some sort of law? Don't we have like a service within the cops that does that when as needed?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, these guys are jumping in as well. It's been during, like, they're jumping in for a lot of political reasons mostly.
Oh,
like,
sure.
They're not going in for like the actual reasons. The other thing is, like, McNamara wasn't like I said, he's not some green dude who came up through the ranks, by the way. Like, that he was an ex-FBI agent, 16 years at the Bureau, 14 of them in Boston. The commissioner was not some newbie like scrub here. He'd been brought into to run the Boston Police Department in April of 1962, just 2 months before Anna Slessers died, for one specific reason. He was brought in to clean up the corruption. That's why he was at this Boston department, and he was barely there 2 months before this shit went down. There had been a genuinely humiliating CBS documentary that put Boston cops on national television taking cash from bookies. It blew his predecessor out of the job.
So there is some precedent for the Boston Police Department not being super, super legit all the time.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is like the worst time for any of this to be going down. McNamara basically tries to ride into town like the new sheriff with a mandate to scrub the place and just trim the fat off of the department. And just 2 months in, the bodies start piling up. He's barely there. And the very thing he was hired to do, like make the department leaner, clean out the corruption, becomes a thing now. He's getting publicly crucified for the second there aren't enough warm bodies to chase like this phantom killer. This guy honestly got fucked. And I feel for this guy. And it gets kind of worse than that because the FBI and the Boston PD also genuinely hated each other. Like a real blood feud going back to the Brinks robbery in 1950 when the two departments raced each other to crack the case and came out the other side loathing one another. Like over a decade of literal blood feud is playing out with McNamara.
So weird.
Here, isn't it? It's so stupid. You're all supposed to be working together for the same thing.
It's like an ongoing secret thing in this like Boston month that like the press is like whipping people into a frenzy over some sort of thing, or like actually legitimately a family feud is secretly behind everything. Those are like the two.
It's always some.
Yeah,
dude. So now, but think about it. Now you got McNamara, who's an ex-FBI guy working with the FBI during the Brink robbery situations, now coming over from being in the FBI to run the department that hates each other. Like you are an enemy territory fucking instantly. So this is just an opportunity for them to jump on. His two best homicide men at the time, a guy named John Donovan and Edward Sherry, are good, like genuinely good cops. And I do want to make sure that is put out there. Donovan would later say he lived with this thing day and night for 4 years. The failure to catch this guy is not laziness on these guys' parts. There's just, at this point, nothing to grab onto. There's no physical evidence. The fingerprints turn out nothing. There's nothing there for them to hold on to.
There was a bottle and a few other things.
Which disappeared into evidence somewhere. And McNamara puts it as bluntly as he like a cop can. He just says in a premeditated murder, the killer doesn't intend to leave evidence, and premeditated murders are very rarely solved. And at this time, it's true. That's the whole problem. That's the whole problem in just one sentence for this guy to kind of fix in this moment. And in the middle of all that pressure, the press hands the cops two fake victories that make everything so much worse. First one's a teenager, a 16. Yeah, I know it makes no sense, but wait, like it'll make sense. A 16-year-old girl in Roxbury named Daniela Saunders, Donna to everyone, was just an honest to God, good kid, glee club, math club, junior achievement, active in her parish youth group, kind of teenager that adults idolize in a lot of unhealthy ways, I guess you could put it.
Oh, look at her. She's such a princess. Oh, darling of the community.
Well, unfortunately, she gets dragged into an alley near her house, choked and thrown down on the ice. And the Record American, which by now has decided every crime within fucking 50 miles of this Phantom Strangler is part of it, instantly slaps Donna Saunders on the board as his latest victim. Cop, like laxity, killer still lose the whole shit, except she wasn't a Strangler victim at all. The police solve it pretty fast, actually. She was killed by a boy whose kiss she turned down. Because fucking men, dude. Nothing to do with any of the Strangler shit. I know. The paper barely blinks at it because the legend sells so much better than the truth ever will, so it just completely gets overlooked. And then there's the one that actually looked like it may have been a Strangler case. For about 24 hours at least, the entire country believed the Boston Strangler actually had been caught. Belmont, Massachusetts, March 11th, 1963, a man named Israel Goldberg lets himself into his home in the late afternoon and finds his 62-year-old wife, Bessie, dead on the living room floor, strangled with one of her own stockings, clothing in disarray, raped, the whole thing that all the other victims went through. And the scene has that same rawness to it. Like most of the living room furniture has been dragged into the middle of the room. The vacuum cleaner is standing out in the center of the floor. Knickknacks have been like lifted off the shelves and set out on the dining room table weirdly. Like somebody was either searching for something or just staging it, playing around with objects. And there's an obvious suspect ready to go for this one too. An itinerant handyman, an ex-con named Roy Smith, who'd been hired to clean the Goldberg house that exact same day. Wanted posters go out by the thousand. 2 Cambridge officers run him down at his girlfriend's place near Central Square the next day. And that night, Chet Huntley and David Brinkley, the two biggest news anchors in America at the time, go on national television and tell the country the Boston Strangler has been captured and his name is Roy Smith, which gives relief, finally, because everybody now believes they got the guy. But
it just is like the narrative's needed ending, basically.
Yep. But unfortunately, they did not get the guy, because when the cops actually pull Roy Smith's record, they find he'd been locked up in prison from April clear through September of 1962, which means he physically could not have killed Anna Slessors or Nina Nichols or any of the other women who died that summer because he was in a cell. So he obviously isn't the Strangler because he couldn't have killed anyone else. Roy Smith goes to trial and he gets convicted of murdering Bessie Goldberg, and he gets life for that though. But he is not the Boston Strangler because he just simply could not be. Roy Smith lived on Northampton Street in Boston, the same street Mathas Freeman lived on a few blocks down, and she died the month after he got out though. So he may have been 2 of the deaths, but we don't know for sure if that earlier one was him. That's a thread we could pull on for a whole other episode.
That's crazy.
And that's where we are at the state by 1963 of this
whole thing. A whole mess already.
Yeah.
Like,
do you see what I mean? Like the story is in how messy this whole thing is.
I see why you started with the murders.
It's just crazy. This whole thing is chaos.
Yeah.
The state, this is the state of the manhunt in 1963, still less than a year after this has all started. The commissioner is getting torn to pieces publicly by all these politicians. It's all fucking falling apart. And into that vacuum walk 2 new people the history books almost completely erased as well. This is one of my favorite parts of the story, but it's also one of the most maddening for me. Remember, these murders are spread across 5 separate police departments: Boston, Cambridge, Lynn, Lawrence, and Salem. Departments that don't share files, don't share suspect lists, and in some cases, actively can't stand each other, just like the FBI and the Boston PD. Bad blood, rivalries, case bullshit, all that stuff. The entire structure of law enforcement at this time is basically built to never see the pattern. They're not built to talk to one another. They're all completely separate, doing their own things. The people who finally connect the killings into one coherent picture, who finally synthesized all the work the cops were sporadically doing on their own, are 2 reporters at the Record American. Their names were Jean Cole and Loretta McLaughlin. 2 women in a 1960s newsroom run wall to wall by men at this point, just something to put in your mind, doing honestly, maybe the single most important journalism of the entire case, period. They write a 4-part investigative series. They lay the murders side by side. They reconstruct the crimes scene by scene, room by room. They don't stop at the killer. They go after the cops too. In a meeting with the Attorney General's own staff, they lay out the charges. Directly that the Boston PD failed to share suspect names with the other departments, refused to even admit the murders were connected, didn't bother to pull together the complete autopsy reports and victim photos, fed false information to the press, and wouldn't cooperate with the Suffolk County DA. And it's Cole and McLaughlin who hang their name on the killer that's going to outlive every single person in this story. Not the Mad Strangler, not the Phantom Fiend that the media was running with all this time. It's their name they give, the Boston Strangler. And that's where the name, the Boston Strangler, comes from. And it sticks so hard, so fast, that by the time anybody confesses, the name is already cemented into American folklore.
If I was the mayor of Boston, I'd be so pissed.
For a number of reasons, I'm guessing. Some independent people having to do this. My Boston people not doing it properly.
Well, I just mean the name you went with was the Boston Strangler. Oh. Damn, you couldn't have called him at least the Back Bay Strangler or something like that. Just anything besides for all time associating our city with one of the most notorious serial killers of the 60s.
Yeah, that does suck for the mayor. But in a kind of unfortunate turn too, like the same reporting by these two women that named him is the same thing 3 years later that actually helps convict an innocent man in all of this. So like, because this is where, and that point right there is where the entire two-parter like hinges on. Cole and McLaughlin were good, almost too good. Their work was so detailed, it laid out the exact floor plans of the victims' apartments. Like, I'm serious when I said it described step by step which drawers the killers opened, what he moved, what he touched, where he left things. It told you that a coffee cup was sitting clean and set out on a table, that he'd opened a foot locker where the bed linens were kept, that in one apartment, the tip of a broken knife blade was still wedged in a lock. And on January 23rd, the Record published something it printed under that actual name in the newspaper for anyone in New England to read it. It's called the Strangle Worksheet. That is what all these details were labeled under in the news. The Strangle Worksheet.
That's a rough one. It's a bit morbid.
It really is. It was literally a grid. It was a chart under full face photographs of 6 of the dead women, every victim laid out in a row. It gave her name, her age, the exact time she died, the time she was found, exactly how she was killed, whether she'd been sexually assaulted, where she was found after she was killed, where she was, like, what she was wearing, whether the apartment had been ransacked, her hobbies, her interests, where she worked, even the local hospital she'd been connected to. Literally, this worksheet that they published in the newspaper had fucking everything. It printed an inventory, essentially, of every single one of these murders. And kind of a how-to guide in a weird way, which is why this leads to convicting an innocent man in all this. It was everything a person would need to walk into an interrogation room and confess in convincing detail to a murder that he didn't commit. Like, that's where, like, this is all going to hinge. Because in part 2, a man with a flawless photographic memory recites the chart back to investigators, basically line for fucking line, including the handful of facts the newspaper got wrong. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts would call it a confession and close the case on 11 murders because of this. Like, that's where this two-parter hinges.
Damn.
Yeah, the newspaper fucked it. Like, there's so many areas where this goes wrong, but having, like, I can't imagine, like, printing the Strangle Worksheet. I don't understand the concept behind printing that out for the public to have.
Probably
because people buy the newspaper.
Yeah, probably the same reason why people post insane stuff now to get clicks. You take the chance. You're like, we gotta be first to, if we don't publish this, someone else will, that kind of stuff.
And so, like, something to make clear too, I didn't put in the script, is like, these are being leaked too. Like, all this stuff is being leaked to the press. Someone internally is taking the Strangle chart and all this stuff and leaking it out there to the press. This also, when McNamara found out, like, pissed him off so bad. He was so fucking angry and disgusted that there was, like, leaks were happening all over the place because it made this so much fucking harder. The Suffolk County medical examiner was holding what amounted to, like, unofficial press conferences and handing reporters copies of the autopsy reports, which is fucking insane. Inside the Strangler Bureau itself, once it existed, the confidential case books weren't kept under lock and key. They were left out, spread across desks and tables. And on at least one occasion, a Boston homicide detective walked in to find a group of State House pages, errand kids, passing the scene photographs around the office and gawking at them for entertainment. So there was, like, there wasn't even an attempt at, like, keeping this shit secure in the fucking police department.
It's, they were feeling celebrity status. They were letting fame get to their heads. They felt like they were special, I think, because they had something interesting happening that they were able to, like, be the inside men on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it feels to me.
So as we move forward, now you have a kind of better understanding how chaotic it is and behind the scenes and publicly. The story starts to fall apart right as we begin to look at the winter season coming. This is all happening very, very quickly too. Like it just starts and it's like full speed the whole time. After the summer cluster of older women, there's a moment of quiet stretch. And then in December of 1962, it starts again, but it's changed this time. And it actually keeps changing from this point on all the way through 1963 until the idea that one man did all this stops making any sense at all. December 5th, 1962, 315 Huntington Avenue in Boston. Sophie Clark is 20 years old, a student studying medical technology, engaged to a young man back home in New Jersey, and living with 2 roommates. And so right away, she breaks the pattern in 2 main ways. One, she's 20, not 60s, 70s, older, and she doesn't live alone. One of her roommates comes home, opens the door, and runs. She's found on the living room floor, partly dressed, a stocking knotted around her neck under a half slip, gagged, and she's gagged. There's some bodily fluid stain on the rug. There's a cigarette butt floating in the toilet. And the roommates did smoke Salem's, and it was a Salem cigarette. So it might be nothing, but it also might belong to the killer. And Sophie Clark, yeah, I know. It's a weird detail though. Like, it's hard, it makes that piece of evidence hard to know. And Sophie Clark is black. The man who spent the summer exclusively murdering elderly white women has supposedly now raped and murdered somebody that matches none of the pattern in any way to his other victims at all. Among Sophie Clark's belongings, the police find a typed scrap of amateur pornography, a few pages written from a woman's point of view about a woman who gets seduced specifically because she's wearing silk stockings. We have no idea who wrote it and why it's even there or whether it even means anything at all. But in an apartment where a young woman has just been strangled and there's it didn't seem to fit among her belongings, essentially. December 31st now, New Year's Eve. Patricia Bissett, 23, a secretary at her apartment on Park Drive. Her boss is supposed to pick her up on this night for work, or rather, her boss is supposed to pick her up the next morning for work in the morning, but she doesn't answer the door. He calls and calls a few times, and he finally gets worried enough to come back and climb through her living room window. What he finds is the opposite of everything that we understand the Strangler to do. Her killer doesn't pose her. He doesn't degrade her. He tucks her into bed, sheets and blankets pulled up to her chin, the ligature hidden underneath. And one of the forensic men who sees her says she honestly looked like she was just asleep. There's a gentleness to the way there was a level of care to the body that the other bodies did not receive. Still a victim, obviously. The other sad thing is that the autopsy turns up something in the morning as well. Patricia Bissett was 1 month pregnant. Again, 3.5 weeks apart. Sophie Clark, Patricia Bissett. Totally different patterns, not only from the pattern of the Strangler, but even from each other. Does that sound like right away to you like the same man doing these murders, the same murderer?
No, it's clearly not.
But with the information out there, you now know how you could mimic it.
Exactly correct.
Yeah, at least superficially, yeah.
It keeps going. March 1963, up in Lawrence, Mary Brown, 68. Beaten, stabbed, strangled, and raped with a knife or a fork driven into her chest up to the handle, and it's the beating that kills her, the autopsy finds. So different, the task force originally doesn't even count her from the other victims. Then, May 1963, and the pattern continues to break. Beverly Salmons, 26, a graduate student in Cambridge, a singer, a part-time counselor for people with mental illness, and a student at Boston University. And Beverly Salmons was not strangled. She was stabbed 17 times in and around the left breast area with four more cuts laid across her neck, like 2 on each side of the neck. There are ligatures around her throat, 2 stockings and a scarf, but underneath them, there is no strangulation marks at all. They were tied on for decoration, maybe after the kill was done to make it look like it was the Boston Strangler. the murder reads to me that the person killed them, snapped out of whatever it is they were like a state they were in, realized what they'd done, and in an effort to try and make it look like the Boston Strangler, they then tied the stuff underneath the chin. But there was no strangulation that happened at all, no marks, nothing. That didn't happen. Somebody just tried to make it look like the scene.
It's fucking crazy.
I mean, it really is. That's nuts.
So it's just like you're basically just like making like a meme of it.
Yeah. I guess.
You're like trying to remind the cops or remind the newspapers of the other thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing in my mind that makes sense for why they would do it that way. Because like Jesse just said, there's a whole fucking textbook on how to be the Boston Strangler. Yeah. Like you have the step-by-step on how to do it. Then September 1963 in Salem, Evelyn Corbin, who's a divorced woman who looked decades younger, according to the newspapers, looked decades younger than her age and was seeing a man 17 years younger than her. A neighbor lets herself in with a spare key and starts screaming. The neighbor's son, a man named Robert Manchester, goes inside and comes back out with his hands on his head saying, "She's gone, she's gone, she's gone." He and Evelyn had been lovers, apparently. Her killer forced her to perform oral sex before her strangulation, different again from the pattern. November 23rd, 1963 in Lawrence, Joan Graff, 23, devout Lutheran and a Sunday school teacher, same thing, sexual assault, strangled roughly 24 hours after President Kennedy was shot in Dallas. To give you an idea of where we are.
A fun fact.
A fun fact.
I know it's been said a million times since the 60s, but just to reiterate, be it lady or gent, if anyone threatens you in any way and they're like, "Hey man, the way you get out of this is like you suck my dick or whatever," bite that shit off. And then kick, like literally, they're all like, the lesson is they're definitely going to kill you. If they take you someplace, they're going to kill you. If they're in your home, they're going to kill you. So just wail on those guys. If you're going out, take them out with you because, oh my God, the lesson here is like, you don't get to, like, there is no, well, if I do what this crazy person says, I'll be fine. Like that does not happen. It just doesn't.
The other lesson I feel like we're kind of losing in the moment because we're doing it in this way is like, they're also all sad, pathetic fucking losers. Like even the guys, he's not the monster that the media is making him to be, this genius or whatever evil guy who's getting like literally, he's a fucking pathetic loser.
The ones that seem to be connected are all older women, defenseless. Yep. Like there's an MO here. That's kind of sad.
Exactly. Complete coward, pathetic person of an individual. Yeah. The reason that I bring up the Kennedy assassination is because that day, that means her murder ran on the back page of the newspaper.
The back page, man.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah, because the president got shot.
Yeah, because the president got killed. So when they found her, her right hand was curled into a fist, probably tried to fight off the best she could, her attacker. But very similarly, they found her with three ligature marks. Each were tied with a different knot. A square knot, a granny knot, and a surgeon's knot, different knots, completely again, does not fit the previous kills. So now put it all on the table the way detectives had to. The dead are 19 years old and they're 85 years old. They're white and they're black. They're Catholic, Protestant, Jewish. Some strangled by hand, some with ligatures, some stabbed, some beaten. Knots don't match. Staging doesn't match. Posed one time, tucked into bed the next, dumped into a bathtub, left in a vacant lot. The sexual assaults don't match, sometimes with an object, sometimes oral, sometimes none at all. A real serial killer, as we've covered time and again on this show, has a type, has repeats, because the ritual is the whole point for these people. Ted Bundy is ritualistic. Jack the Ripper, even though we don't even there was some ritualistic aspects to it. Ed Kemper, ritualistic, dedicated toward his mother. Like countless serial killers, there is reason and ritual. Yeah. What's happening in Boston is the opposite of a type. They're different ages, races, methods, knots. It's pure chaos of information that doesn't really connect with each other at this point. Killing women they had their own private reasons to kill and letting the Boston Strangler take the weight is probably what's going on with a lot of these. All personal motives, not the same person. The perfect serial killer to pin it on is the one who is the one they put the instructions on how to be in the fucking newspaper. And I'm not the one, I'm obviously not the one that came up with this. The people who came up with this and put it in the writing were the Attorney General's own task force, which will get exactly what they wrote.
Fucked up.
Sure. Yeah. Now we're at 44A Charles Street in Boston on the edge of Beacon Hill, January 4th, 1964. Mary Sullivan is 19 years old, from Cape Cod, Hyannis, and she has just moved into the city 3 days ago to start a new job and a new life, sharing a little 3-room apartment with 2 roommates, Pam and Pat, both teenagers themselves. Oh, so that's crazy. Like, I can't. 19 years old, I was still living with my mom. I couldn't. It's the world too scary. Mary's 20th birthday is the following week. The people who knew her say she was funny, warm kind of girl. She just didn't have anybody who didn't like her. She's like got this whole vibe that's like people describe as just very easygoing and easy to talk to. Her roommates come home from work that one evening and they see Mary on the bed in the dark and figure she's taking a nap. So they head into the kitchen to start dinner. About 15 minutes later, they go wake her up. We're going to keep this restrained because Mary Sullivan has family that is still fighting for her today. And her nephew turns out to be a central figure in part 2 as well. So we owe her that. But what you need to know is Mary Sullivan was violated, strangled, kind of similar stuff that we've seen with the other stuff. And her body was staged with a cruelty that genuinely rattled even veteran homicide cops who'd already been living inside this case for a year and a half. Men who thought they'd seen it all. This one really, really got to them. Her killer left one little touch propped up against her foot. He left a greeting card and it said Happy New Year. Like Jesus. This felt targeted.
Yeah.
Mary Sullivan. Yeah.
This is like somebody who's like sophisticating. Yes.
And Mary Sullivan goes into the history book as the 13th and final victim of the Boston Strangler. But I want you to hold on to that specific thing about her too, because it becomes the whole ball game in part 2. The fact that she is the last quote unquote killer of the Boston Strangler. Of all 13 murders, the task force singled hers out as the most elaborate, the most staged. And one line was, it was the most theatrical. And they concluded that it had no probable connection to the murders that came prior to it. They thought her killer was working off of a script, like working off of what he'd read in the papers about the others. And this is, again, all part of that stuff we talked about earlier. Because 50 years later, when DNA supposedly closes the entire case forever, the body that DNA points to is Mary Sullivan's. The one death in the original investigators believed was a copycat, hers. That's a part 2 problem. We'll leave that there. After Mary Sullivan, there is no more. No more bows, bodies, victims. There's no more cards. It seemed like the thing that terrorized an entire region for 18 months finally goes quiet. But of course, nobody really knows that yet. And as far as Boston knows, in January of 64, the monster is still out there. It just murdered a 19-year-old in her bed and signed the card. Like, that's where we're at publicly. And Mary Sullivan's death is the one that breaks the dam, too. 2 weeks later, the Attorney General of Massachusetts does something they've never done. He takes the whole investigation over himself. His name is Edward Brooke. I know, it's like the Attorney General of the state takes it over, Edward Brooke. And the man, to give you an idea, he's considered brilliant, a decorated World War II combat veteran, and a lawyer with a thriving practice. He's also, right at this moment, the most prominent black elected official in the entire United States. He's a Republican who got himself elected statewide in a state full of Democrats, a man people are openly whispering could be the country's first black governor, maybe even U.S. senator. So understand the stakes for this guy personally when he's taking this on. Taking over 14 unsolved murders across 3 counties is a colossal gamble. If women keep dying on his watch, his career is fucking done.
It should not be allowed to make murders public like this.
No shit, dude.
There should be like one ticker that comes out, and nobody should be allowed to. You could look at it, and that's it. Like, this is so fucked up that there should be the stakes.
Right,
that there should even be stakes.
Because like if he fucks up, it's over for him. But if he catches him, there's no ceiling on where his career could go after this. In both ways, crazy. It's political. It's fucked up. And the record at this point, it was like clear that the real human horror drove him too. This guy had a real hunger for justice. But you can't understand a single decision that follows unless you understand that the man running the show had one eye on a very shiny prize the whole time. On paper, the move is like smart. This is where you kind of get to what you're saying, Alex, where 5 police forces, 3 district attorneys, nobody sharing files, put it all under one roof, kill the turf wars, build one clearinghouse. He's politically making a move that ideally could both solve the murder problem and solve the disparate feud between all of these things in one go. Like, he's like, all right, I'll take the case. And I know you're all fighting each other. No more. You're all working under my roof with me on this case, and you're all working together. You don't have a choice. We're going to do no more turf wars. Daddy's stepping in and doing what he has to do. Like, that's the goal. That's how he sees it. I think it's reasonable to a degree. So Brooke gathers all the chiefs and DAs into his office and walks through the whole grim year and a half and announces who's going to run the new unit. This is where it's dubbed the Strangler Bureau. And the man he hands it to is one named John Bottomley.
Rough one. John Bottomley.
Yeah. John Bottomley. At this moment, John Bottomley is the head of the eminent domain division of the Attorney General's office. Eminent domain, the man's entire professional expertise, is the legal process for the government buying real estate. He's a real estate guy. He has, and I want to be exact about this, about 0% experience investigating a homicide. Not some, 0. Not a single murder in his whole fucking career.
The perfect candidate.
The perfect candidate. And he's kind of a character. Like, he's an independently wealthy Yankee blue blood who drifted into law only after deciding against medicine, the clergy, and teaching. Law was his 4th choice.
Oh, of course.
Of course. His listed hobbies included ship salvaging, mining, and investing. Those were his hobbies. I don't know how ship salvage is a hobby. I didn't really look into it. I just kind of took Susan on her word.
Yeah, it's like magnet fishing, but just big.
Yeah, I guess.
Right?
Yeah. Apparently, too, according to people who worked for him, he was the kind of boss that when he closed an especially good real estate deal for the state, he would have his staff jump up from their desks and cheer.
Like Anchorman?
Get them on there, stand them, get on the desks, and yeah, we all did it.
Get up on the desks. Now cheer. Cheer, everybody. I'm looking.
It was everybody up. I've got an announcement to make, and amazing. And they all just I don't know how that.
Applause, please.
You better cheer.
I don't know how you build that.
Your bonuses are going this week. You better cheer.
You better cheer. Everybody gets on their desks and cheer. One of Brooke's other deputies called him unimpeachably honest and said he bubbled over with enthusiasm. That's
so maybe he was just a killer. Maybe he just slayed.
Maybe he just slayed. This dude though now is the one in charge of capturing the most feared killer in America at this time. Yeah. This guy. So why him?
Yeah.
I think the answer is because wouldn't it be great if he did?
That would be amazing if that was the reason. Wouldn't it be great? There's something he saw in him, right? The glimmer of something good.
I think it's just more I hope he gets him. We love this guy.
It was even more, unfortunately, boring than that. He picked him because they went way back.
Oh, good.
Bottomley was actually the guy who first dragged Brooke into Republican politics when they were law students together.
Nice.
There's a friendship there. Brooke himself asked about it and said it came down to organizational skills. That's why he picked Bottomley, not because they were friends. Bottomley was a very good administrator. And when one of Brooke's own assistant attorneys generals got asked years later why in God's name the biggest murder case in state history landed on the real estate lawyer's desk, the answer was, and I'm barely paraphrasing, that because Bottomley had no criminal experience, he was the perfect guy. These were non-traditional murders. They called for non-traditional methods.
Somebody was going to say that shit. I knew somebody was going to say,
really?
Or perhaps he's exactly who we need.
That's exactly, dude. I.
So stupid.
I
I
we
knew
need
somebody
fresh
was gonna
eyes
say
on
that.
this.
The perfect
What
candidate.
eyes are fresher than someone who has no clue what they're looking for?
So, other than a stupid person's eyes.
Dude, I have this
Yes.
image in my head of like this mockumentary camera. We're in the office. They're cheering on a desk. There's like a knock at the office door and there's like a peek in and it's like Brooke being like, Bottomley, can I have a word with you? And as they're all cheering for the sale, he gets pulled aside and told he's going to
Bottomley,
be
dude.
run. He's going to run the entire, it's like Michael Scott getting to run the whole
Fucking
fucking
Bottomley, dude.
shit. Oh God. I can't, like, it's crazy. To understand how the actual cops felt about this appointment, it's actually on the record. Commissioner McNamara's professional assessment of the man that now leading it, actually, it's just one line. It's a quote directly from him. Alex, this is how McNamara felt about Bottomley being appointed. You can just go ahead and read this one line.
Holy Jesus, what a nutcake.
Amazing. Yes.
That's it. That's how he felt.
Isn't
That's
that
it.
what Aleister Crowley used to eat?
Yeah, he did. It was his favorite little magical snack.
Yeah. A little nutcake.
I will never find out because I will never practice that kind of magic, unfortunately.
Of course.
Maybe in another life.
Course. Of course, the first rule of Magic Club is never to tell the secrets of Magic Club.
A novelist who covered the case for the Associated Press said he never
A
once
novelist?
heard- a novelist who covered the case for the
That's
Associated Press at the time.
Okay.
This is just where we're at, man. Things are still, it's still early, in like America here.
Couldn't
trying
have
to figure
sprung
shit
for a
out.
journalist? I mean, yeah, I guess.
No,
Okay.
the Associated Press had a novelist cover the case. And he said he never once heard anyone say Bottomley's name without a certain 4-letter word attached to the front
Fucking
or
Bottomley.
the back of it until he genuinely started to wonder if it was the man's middle name. A retired Cambridge detective put it shorter than that. He just said, he's a fucking idiot. And the forensic psychiatrist who had to work alongside him screening suspects didn't even bother with the sentence. Asked about Bottomley, he just exhaled and said the man's name twice the way you'd say the name of a headache. Literally asked about Bottomley by this guy. He just went, Bottomley.
Bottomley.
This man becomes integral to this case now. This is the man who, when he quits, walks out the door with 54 hours of confession tapes and stashes them in a bank vault.
What? Why? Wait, why? What the
We're
fuck?
gonna get to all that. Like, this is important because, like, this is a man who personally sits in a little room and takes the confessions that close the 11 murders. Bottomley is the man who gets the shit that closes it all. When he when he quits, he puts them in a fucking bank vault.
So it's like a Fargo situation where he's just trying his best to not get in trouble this whole time, and it's kind of working.
Never seen Fargo, so I don't know.
You try, Alex.
well,
You know what? You were almost 3 for 3 today.
I know. I opened my heart just a little bit, and I let an arrow right in.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
mean
it's
to
okay.
hurt you. It's just how I am.
No, it's okay. The point of Fargo is a man is in over his head because he commits a crime that he was not equipped to commit.
I don't mean to hurt you. It's just how I am is an insane statement. And honestly, I love it.
No, I think it's more selfish than that, Alex, because this is a few years down the line. This guy, Bottomley, is the same dude who makes a nice, tidy pile of money off of the movie rights to the Boston Strangler and the role he played in catching him.
Interesting. So he was gaming the system.
100%.
Huh. That is crazy. That is legit crazy. That's wild style is what that is.
But for now, he just sets up shop on the second floor of the State House with 4 investigators working under him and a medical psychiatric committee working alongside. His people commissioned the Xerox Corporation to copy more than 37,000 pages of police files into casebooks, one set for each victim. The governor posts a $10,000 reward, and the public does what the public always does. It buries them in mail. Within months. They've got 1,000 letters and phone calls from all over the world from people who want to help catch the Strangler because there's $10,000 on the line. Most of them are sincere enough. Like, a solid chunk of them are completely deranged, like you would expect. Very similar to when Alex covered the Zodiac Killer. We had weird phone calls, remember on that? Like, we had those moments.
Yeah, just like people who want to get like LARP
Yep.
experience in and you have to do it in like really weird ways.
This is honestly one of, like, for me, one of the only parts of this story where genuinely funny things are happening with, like, when Bottomley enters this and this all starts going down, it starts the absurdity. What I meant by competency can only go down. Like, this is what I mean.
It feels like he was written by like a comedy writer who needed to inject some humor into the situation. So they invented the character Bottomley. Like that's crazy.
And yet he is a real person. You got one guy in Connecticut who writes into them explaining to them that the Strangler is actually a Frankenstein's monster built by a cabal of communists who implanted bugging devices into the bloodstreams of jail inmates to turn them into electronic zombies.
Like a literal Frankenstein's monster.
Yes, you have to understand Alex Jones is an eternal concept. Alex Jones is not a man. He is a concept that exists eternally. These kinds of people are always around. Like they're putting plants in the water to turn the inmates zombies. Like that's the kind of energy that this guy brings. You've then got a woman who tries to protect her anonymity by signing her letter, a fellow Trinity Church member, and then types the whole thing on stationery with her full name engraved across the top.
She just forgot. You know what I mean? She lost sight of what was important for a second. You know what I mean?
Two of my personal favorites are both of which are very real. Are both of I'm going to have you guys read real quick. These are not making it up. First, an elderly gentleman from Canada.
I hate that you have to say I'm not making it up. That's so fun. I'm not making it up, guys. This is real.
He wrote in a single sentence description on how to defend yourself. This is for women on how to create some self-defense. And Jesse, because of your personal self-defense tips not long ago, this is what he wrote in. Very simple. It's one sentence, one line. This is what women should do if they get attacked.
Squeeze good and hard, and that's all is necessary.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Squeeze the dick super hard. Squeeze the ball super hard. That was this elderly man's suggestion. Thank you, sir.
He's not wrong. Like, just twist and pull.
Like I don't want to give away too many guys' secrets, but that's a weakness. That's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate weakness. We are.
It is a weakness.
Yeah.
We don't deserve better.
Let's just say.
I'm sure that women.
It's a flaw in the design.
Exactly.
We do not deserve better.
A failsafe, an emergency ripcord, if you will.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Sure.
Then there's a woman who wrote in with the theory she was clearly hoping would land her the reward money in my mind. The theory being that the Strangler has supernatural powers and can pass through locked doors and then vanish into thin air.
I have a theory. Maybe it was Satan.
Ooh.
Could have been Satan.
He was too busy helping the communists.
Oh, right.
At the end of that letter, she said, quote, "Please do not broadcast or advertise my name concerning the above theory. Thank you.
Love, Linda."
I realize this is crazy and as such would not like to be associated with the reaction. Thank you.
So that's what we got. That's the brain trust and now the flood of letters that they're actually getting into all this. Like it's starting to kind of spiral out of control in a weird way, which is like obviously saying something because of what we've all witnessed so far.
Sure.
Brooke does two things to crack this case. One is reasonable. The other one turns his office into a punchline from coast to coast that we'll get to. The reasonable thing first, he puts together a medical psychiatric committee, real doctors, one of whom, a man named James Brussel, had famously helped catch the mad bomber who terrorized New York for the better part of a decade. Their job is to build a psychological profile of the killer, and they do. They sketch out a man they nickname Mr. S, at least 30, probably older, neat, orderly, punctual, good with his hands or with a hobby that needs his hands, a loner with no real friends of either sex, no wife, or if there was one, no real connection to her. The kind of man who would not strike you as crazy if you passed him on the street. And crucially, a man they imagined raised by a specific kind of mother. They imagined that this person was raised by a mom who was sweet, neat, and overwhelming, quote unquote. Seductive and punishing at the same time. Like a woman who might walk around the apartment half dressed and then punish the boy savagely for any flicker of sexual curiosity with their father who was essentially absent, essentially not there. That's the kind of profile this guy thought that the serial killer would be.
Such a strangely specific.
Very specific and weird. Yeah. Off in the corner, this committee lands on the same conclusion the street cops already carry kind of like in their gut at this point. There's almost certainly more than one person doing this. And the man who ran the committee even signed off his report to the task force by wishing them in writing good hunting. Now, the second part, which is like the weird shit. John Bottomley brings in a psychic. The psychic's name is Peter Herkos. He's a Dutch house painter who claims he fell off of a ladder, fractured his skull, woke up from a coma, and could suddenly read minds.
So what are we doing? What are we doing now?
So what are we doing?
One guy who's like actually from like a case in New York, putting together an actual psychological profile. That's what Brooke brought in. And then Bottomley brought in this guy.
We're doing X-Men plots now?
Yep. Well, Bottomley read about him in a paperback about the paranormal and sent his investigators out with one instruction. Find me this man.
Bottomley read about him, dude. All right. All right.
Where do you think they found this guy?
Oh,
I feel like
if we're lucky, Salem. But I'm going to going to assume like at a bar.
Okay, at a bar, like just like drinking and living life.
Like literally the norm of a bar. Like everyone knows his name. He's there all the time.
Like a bar fly. Yeah, like a drinker, like a day drinker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you? What's your guess? Is that yours, Alex, too? You agree?
I think he's the town milkman.
He is nowhere within fucking 50 to 100 miles of New England. He's out in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hollywood. At this time,
how does that work?
He's coaching the actor Glenn Ford, who was going to play him in a movie about himself.
Well, obviously.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, obviously.
Right. Cool.
So that's where he was. I don't know who Glenn Ford is. I know the name. No face comes to mind, though.
That's straight out of like LA Confidential, by the way. That whole setup like that.
Really?
In LA Confidential, there's like a cop show, and the cop like spends his time advising the cops. It's like just kind of similar kind of situation.
Yeah, this guy out in Hollywood, movie going to be made. And the decision to bring him in at all, depending on which insider you believe, because there are multiple claims, came down to one of two things, essentially. One version is that Bottomley had a long-standing fascination with telepathy experiments out at a NASA lab in Cambridge.
Fucking Bottomley, dude.
That's one.
That's Paul Kent, by the way, from the Christopher Reeve Superman, Glenn Ford.
Oh, okay. I know who he is now. The other version from the forensic psychiatrist on the case is funnier and probably truer. That Bottomley's own mother was obsessed with ESP and kept badgering her son to get a seer, go get a seer. Good God, go get a seer. It's the only way you're ever going to catch the Strangler. Go get a seer, young boy. It's the only way.
Why that phrase of all the things you could call it?
1962. I don't know.
I guess seer was a big thing to say in 1962.
Hilariously, though, the cops were thrilled. They loved this. McNamara's own reaction to the news that his investigation was bringing in a clairvoyant, he said, fucking fine. Why don't I just fire all my detectives and hire a bunch of gypsies with crystal balls to solve crimes?
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
oh,
boy. Let me put quote at the end of that.
That's
real quick.
Mathas'
That
opinion.
Is, right. No. That is 1964. Officer Commissioner McNamara's opinion on this. He then forbade his top two homicide men from going anywhere near the psychic Bottomley brought in. And they fly Peter Herkos to Boston, except they don't fly him to Boston. They fly him into Providence, Rhode Island in the dead of night because Herkos insisted on it so that no Boston reporter would spot the famous psychic detective and ruin his delicate concentration.
It's almost like a psychic version of like Jessica Fletcher or the dude from the Knives Out movies, or like just a notorious crime-solving guru.
It's literally That's So Raven is what it is.
Yeah, actually. Except, did Raven solve crime?
I mean, like,
it's what Raven would have done.
It's like That's So Raven as a detective.
Right.
Yeah.
That's So Raven in 35.
That's a show, man. Like, honestly,
Raven
that's
Simone,
a fucking
get on
show.
that. A drama series of Raven
that'd be great.
seeing things would be great.
She's still got. I'm sure she can pull that off.
Yeah, no doubt of
I think
that.
she could. So here's how this. I'm going to paint the scene in your mind, boys, because this is how he arrives. Lands in Providence, middle of the night. Okay, the Great Seer steps off his plane, not alone, but he's accompanied by his bodyguard, who is a 6'8" man, armed, dressed head to toe like a Western cowboy.
Why?
Who walks with a quote John Wayne swagger.
Of course.
So he's just like a cowboy cosplayer who's 6'8".
Yeah, that's his bodyguard.
Yeah, and why is he there? Why is he acting like that? Because who's going to stop him?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you? Life is but a game.
He's just dressed like Woody from Toy Story.
Yeah, that's how. Literally, I have a 6'8" Woody from Toy Story in my head when this is getting described to me. It's insane. So he's accompanied by his fucking cowboy from hell, and then it turns out, I bet you boys would never have seen this coming. Peter Herkos, he turns out to be the house guest from fucking hell.
No.
He's awful to deal with. They put him up in a hotel in Cambridge with a city detective assigned to babysit him. And in the middle of the night, the detective gets a frantic phone call. Herkos demands to be moved out of the hotel immediately because he cannot sleep. The ghosts of the Revolutionary War cemetery next door are screaming at him. So the cop, like a professional, gets dressed, drives over, picks up world famous seer and psychic, and brings him to his home. And Herkos refuses to stay there too, because the detective's children are in the house, and the innocent aura of the kids is jamming his signal and blocking him from picking up the evil vibrations of the Boston Strangler.
Maybe, like, it's just better than saying, like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea what to do. Maybe the guy just couldn't do that. Maybe he just could never get himself to say, actually, I got to say, guys, I'm stumped right now.
Oh, I would have been like, you don't want to be here? Go back to the hotel. You can deal with the ghosts.
I'm gonna take this line right out of the book because I think Susan Kelly puts it perfectly. She writes in the book that it comes as great surprise, and that the detectives and talks about the detective's sense of self-control, that there was never a male strangling victim that night. And I was like, yeah,
Speaks
I get
to
it.
His self-control.
The
he didn't
cop
kill the guy
self-control who
that
picked him
night.
up, that he didn't strangle the psychic
Oh.
in his car for being insane to deal with.
That's an insane thing to say, regardless.
Well, that's what she wrote. And it continues to get pettier as well. Within about 2 days of Herkos arriving, Bottomley gets a confidential report that the Great Seer is currently being sued in Wisconsin for breach of contract and is, on top of that, an adulterer.
No.
What?
He's an adulterer.
From California?
It's 1964. A lot of people care.
I guess they do.
The Bottomley, like this guy who's running this investigation, puts in writing that this is conduct of which he personally does not approve. But eventually the psychic delivers. He points the finger at a suspect, a shoe salesman who is completely and totally innocent and who happens to fit Mr. S almost too neatly, like a lifelong celibate with a history of mental illness who had, for reasons no one could explain, recently joined 3 separate marriage clubs.
What do you mean? What do you mean marriage clubs?
I think there are clubs that existed at the time that were for like married couples to hang out and socialize and do things. Marriage clubs. He had joined
Just
3
like
of them.
a chill bedroom in public somewhere that you can like talk about your day in.
I guess so. Again, not
No,
something I looked
hold
into
on.
too
No.
much.
Marriage clubs referred to matchmaking services, marriage bureaus, or the emerging phenomenon of computerized dating. During this era, single adults used to go to these clubs along with social mixers and community groups
To try
find
and get
suitable
married.
marriage-minded partners.
Interesting. Very strange.
So
Very
speed
strange.
dating kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like early.
See, I should have looked it up because my brain was like, oh, it's a club where married couples come together and they have like a social life and they hang out and they maybe have a drink or something.
Nope. Famous examples was the Marriage Bureau in London, Operation Match in 1965, created by Harvard undergraduates.
Okay, yeah, it's probably literally one of the ones he belonged to at this time. So yeah, they check him out, they clear him, and the poor man ends up committing himself to a mental hospital over the entire ordeal as the police put him as a suspect. And then comes the kind of the whole, I guess you could call it the punchline of the psychic detective saga. The FBI shows up and they arrest Peter Hurkos, the detective, that's the psychic. Not obviously to do with anything with the murders.
Yeah, but dude, I was imagining that he might be arrested.
So he got arrested for impersonating a federal agent at a gas station out in Milwaukee.
Well, of course.
What did he do? He was just like, can I have these beef jerkies for free? I'm in the FBI.
I don't know. But while he'd been in Boston helping, somebody in the Strangler Bureau had given Hurkos a little card naming him an honorary assistant attorney general, since the man collected fake badges and fake titles the way other people collect stamps. This dude literally also collected fake titles the whole time he was there. So now the great clairvoyant is in cuffs. He's arrested, gone. And Bottomley is firing off, he writes a huffy 4-page letter to the FBI lecturing the most powerful law enforcement agency in the country on the value of accepting criticism, all in defense of the honor of his psychic.
Smart. Probably turned out super well for him. Aged like wine, right? Like fine wine.
Yeah. Apparently when the letter arrived, it made for a great laughing stock, is what they said. They loved this letter. It was so funny to them.
That's fucking crazy.
It's insane. A real estate lawyer is still running this thing now. The psychic consultant now arrested by the FBI. The profile says they're looking to reiterate a tidy, mother-dominated loner, and the killer himself is still out there as far as anyone can prove. Still, in plural, killers. And it's right there with the whole investigation, a national joke at this point. That's the other part we're not going to cover because it's too much. The investigation became a fucking joke. It became a national joke. The psychic, Bottomley, all that stuff. This in turn, this is the thing the headlines also never said, is that the thing that should have killed the legend of the single Boston Strangler before it ever got off the ground. I want to start with how Susan Kelly, the writer of this book, and at the very beginning I said kind of figured out, she's the one that figured out there were multiple killers. She stumbled into this whole thing in the first place because it tells you how big of an open secret it really was. Back in 1981, almost 20 years after the murders, Kelly was sitting in a Cambridge police station doing research for a novel, and she got to talking with 2 veteran detectives, 2 old white-haired guys who'd been working homicide for 30 years. She mentioned she was interested in serial killers, the Boston Strangler, etc., and one of them got a little smile on his face and asked her who she thought the Boston Strangler was. She said what everybody says, a man by the name of Albert DeSalvo, who we will get to, and the 2 old cops just laughed. Albert DeSalvo was the public person that got put into jail and innocently arrested for all this stuff. They say, quote, Albert DeSalvo was the Boston Strangler like my dog was the Boston Strangler. That's what one of the cops says to her, verbatim to her. And that was the moment the book started, she said. That was when it began. 2 cops laughing at the official story. And as Kelly kept pulling the thread, year after year, she found the same thing everywhere she went. The police department didn't believe it was hunting one man. Neither did Cambridge, neither did Lynn or Lawrence or Salem.
But then bang. Yeah.
Exactly. For her, she's oh, this isn't some fringe hunch that this one old police officer had. It was literally the secret working consensus of nearly every experienced detective who ever touched one of these cases in their career. And decades later, with nothing left to lose, they basically just started saying it out loud. Over 2 decades later is when it finally started coming out that there isn't a single quote, there isn't a cop in Cambridge who ever believed DeSalvo was the Strangler, or quote, I knew there was more than one killer. Another quote, Albert DeSalvo did none of the Boston stranglings, nor any of the others. And last one, quote, from what I know of Albert DeSalvo, he didn't kill anybody. Like, that's what, and yet he went to prison.
It's crazy they'd go on the record.
Yeah, that is weird.
Right.
It's crazy they'd go on the record and just be like, that's all bullshit. That guy's in jail for something he didn't do.
But also think, like, it's weird, but also it's not for surprise.
Right.
Fucking John Wayne Gacy hung out with cops and fed them chicken, and they gave him details on the cases they were working on. It's how he stayed away and out of, like, cops are also human, right? And like, sure, discussing something, and maybe even 20 years down the line. What's the frustrating part is like the fact that it took 20 years for anybody to actually slip on this shit.
Yeah, and I mean, there is some consideration to be given to like doing your job well, right? Like, just because it's hard and like we make mistakes doesn't mean that it's like fine that they didn't do a good job, right? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But that's the point, is like, at this point, she's learning the cops always knew better, and they put it in writing. In August of 1964, a full year before anybody confessed to anything, the Strangler Bureau, Brooks' own office, issued an internal progress report. And in that report, in black and white, the official investigation, even in 1964, said the following, quote, Jesse, you can go ahead and read this. It's like, this is not in the 80s, like, to hammer home. This is not a new belief.
The Strangler Bureau is such a bizarre name for... Where do you work? The Strangler Bureau.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
At an early
Zodiac
stage
Force.
of the coordinated deliberations, it was concluded that certain homicides bore little relationship to the so-called stranglings or to each other. It is also probable that the homicides on and after December 5th, 1962 were not committed by one person.
Just written right out in their documents, that in their operating thing. Like,
how do you write that and then you don't just like get the person out of jail as a lawyer? Like, if you see that document, like, how does that not automatically, how does there even have to be a trial even? Like, how could it not just be like, oh, we fucked up, let him out?
Right. And it goes further. We're going to even, like, that's the other part too. Like, this is written down before Albert DeSalvo is even big. He's not a name they even know yet. And they've written this down. And the report literally doesn't stop there. It goes through them name by name, like a prosecutor. And it goes off a list. It's like Margaret Davis, it says, looks like the result of a fight with the man she was with. Mathas Freeman and Mary Brown, vicious beatings. Mary Brown most likely killed by a sneak thief, quote unquote, who ransacked her place.
Who wrote this report? Gollum?
Yes, Gollum. But like, and then it gets to the copycats, and the murder of Patricia Bissett, the report says, looks like the killer arranged the scene based on what he'd read in the papers about Sophie Clark 26 days earlier. Beverly Sammons, the one stabbing victim, the ligatures were tied on for decoration in what was undoubtedly an attempt to imitate the stranglings that had been all over the news. Everly Corbin, the imitation factor, and Mary Sullivan, the famous one, the 13th victim, by far the most elaborate of all of them, in the report's own words, had no probable relationship to the murders before it, in the work of someone strongly influenced by a desire to imitate previous stranglings as he understood them from the newspaper accounts. All of them, they knew. Internally, they knew. That's the official investigation a year before any confession, telling you the most famous murder in the whole thing was just a copy case. That's all it was. And the proof that it was never one killer is literally sitting there in front of all of them. And it is infuriating to see, like, them actually have it written down.
It's
like,
crazy that it's like it's crazy that it's in public knowledge today when we care so much about murderers, and there's no like reaction.
Yeah. So that leaves us in the city sits at the end of 1964. The killings have just abruptly stopped. There hasn't been an arrest or anything. And the investigation is, like I said earlier, national punchline. Like, it's become a joke that has privately given up on the idea of a single strangler. And the people of Boston are left holding the worst possible version of this whole story. The city did not get a monster in a cage. They got no perpetrator. The city just got this person who killed a bunch of people and got away and could be anywhere in town right now. And for 14 months, everything went quiet. No more murders, no arrests, no answers for any people. The Strangler Bureau keeps grinding away. The files continue to stay open. But for the public consciousness of this all, it kind of all starts to fade back into the hum of like everyday life after a little over a year. And then in March of 1965, in a hospital for the criminally insane, a man starts to talk. He says quite openly that he is the Boston Strangler. He says he killed all 13, and he then throws in 2 more on top for good measure. His descriptions are graphic and they go on forever. It takes him 2 solid months to recite all of it to the cops. And he's got 2 qualities by the account of nearly everyone who ever met him that make him the perfect suspect. He has a flawless, near photographic memory and a desperate, bottomless need to be somebody.
Famously, good place
somebody.
for reliable witnesses is a insane asylum.
Yeah, and somebody who wants to actively be famous. For once in this guy's miserable life, to be the biggest and best at something, and it doesn't matter what it is, positive or negative, it doesn't fucking matter. So the detectives who burned 4 years of their lives chasing this killer listen to the confession and think the same thing that they'll go on saying for the rest of their lives.
No way.
They immediately say, that's not him. It's not him, was never him. But it doesn't fucking matter, because a confession, as we still learn to this day with police, is the fastest, cheapest, and easiest way on this planet to close gruesome murder cases that you were never going to solve anyway, and to make the whole humiliating nightmare that is on the national stage finally just go the fuck away. That's all. There's not one shred of physical evidence tying this man to any of the crimes. His fingerprints didn't match the fingerprints that they had. No eyewitness could put him at any single scene. There's only his voice reciting a chart he could have read in a newspaper to a real estate lawyer privately in a room who badly wanted the case to be solved. And so the most famous answer in the history of American crime in this, for this time in this case, and quite possibly the most convenient lie, gets written down as truth for a long time. That the person who did it is named Albert DeSalvo. Next time on part 2, we are going to look at who Albert DeSalvo actually was, why he is not the person who committed all this, the contract killer in the next cell who may have even coached Albert DeSalvo, and the celebrity lawyer who turned him into a product. Exactly who fed him the details of these murders that he never committed, including, beyond any doubt, the man who took the fucking confession himself, and the real suspects the local cops were chasing for every one of these women in the background quietly. That's where we'll pick up next week. And that is where we end part 1 of the Boston Strangler, S in parentheses. Thank you all so much.
Come see us in Chicago in August.
Come see us in Chicago. We got a show August 22nd in the Lincoln Theater. Tickets are still available. Go buy them.
Link in the description. Chilluminatipod.fm. Get your booties over there.
It's all there. Go grab them. We'll see you then. Thank you all. We're off to go do a minisode at patreon.com/Chilluminatipod. We appreciate you. We love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Anyway, me and my wife were sitting outside indulging on our porch one night, enjoying ourselves. I needed to go to the bathroom, so I stepped back inside, and after 5 moments, I hear my wife go, "Holy shit, get out, shit, get out." So I quickly dash back outside. She's looking up at the sky. I look up too. There's a perfect line of dozen lights traveling across the sky.